Arson's here for that. First up, we're taking a look at the new French government from the money angle.
Yes, hi there, Mark. Hi there, everyone. We're taking a look at the duo that's been put in charge of the French economy. When the French government reshuffle was outlined earlier, Pierre Moscovici got the sack as finance minister. Instead, the veteran politician Michel Sapin was given that job. He will be working together with this gentleman, Arnaud Montebourg, who was named economy minister. Montebourg is seen as a controversial choice. He was criticised last year, for instance, when he blocked the takeover of a French video sharing website by Yahoo. Earlier, I spoke to Antonio Barroso from the political risk consultancy Teneo Intelligence, and I put the question to him whether investors would be worried about Montebourg's appointment.
I think it's a little bit surprising for investors given the well-known stance of Montebourg, negative stance, I would say, towards foreign companies and his criticism towards Brussels. I still think it's not going to be an issue. I think from the point of view of coordination, obviously the cacophony between the finance minister, Michel Sapin, the new finance minister, and Montebourg could be a problem. But at the end of the day, I think that Manuel Valls is going to be the one calling the shots, and that will probably fix the coordination issues between the two new finance minister and economy minister.
So you're saying that even though we may have these two names in the economy ministry, Michel Sapin and Arnaud Montebourg, you're not expecting a real break from the former policy, so to speak, of the French government?
Exactly. I expect a lot of continuity. Let's look, for example, at what are the main initiatives from the point of view of policy that François Hollande wants to implement in the coming months. One is fiscal consolidation, and for that he has appointed a close friend, Michel Sapin, someone that can actually speak for him in Brussels and try to enforce fiscal consolidation. And then the other important initiative is the Responsibility Pact, which falls under the competence of the Labour Ministry, which is going to be dealt by the new Labour Minister. So I think that obviously Montebourg will still have an impact in certain policy dossiers, but the most important policy dossiers are not going to be managed by him.
That was Antonio Barroso speaking to me there earlier from London. Now, there's little sign that the biggest strike in the history of German airline Lufthansa will end early. Pilots are staging a 3-day walkout to protest against plans to scrap an early retirement scheme. Lufthansa has already been forced to ground hundreds of flights, and it expects 3,800 cancellations altogether through Friday. Lufthansa management says there will be no further talks while the strike continues.
Based on past history, Lufthansa has come to a rather conciliatory approach in its union negotiations, but it can't really afford to do that. It needs to make permanent cost savings. Pilots are amongst the highest cost elements of the labour force for an airline, and when Lufthansa is competing against low-cost airlines in Europe and lower cost-base airlines from, for example, the Gulf and Asia, it has to do something to shift its own cost base for the future.
OK, we're going to take a look at the stock markets next. In the United States, it was a pretty choppy session on Wednesday. The markets got a boost after news from payroll firm ADP that the US private sector added 191,000 jobs in March. That was seen as a pretty good figure and part of the reason why the Dow Jones Industrial Average ended up 0.25%. This side of the Atlantic, the markets also closed in positive territory earlier. European shares, they were higher on the hope that the US economy is strengthening. The Paris CAC 40 and the London FTSE, though, they were only up marginally, 0.1% there when we talk about the London FTSE. Let's talk you through a few other stories that we're watching for you. The European Commission is punishing Goldman Sachs and the world's top makers of high-voltage cables. The Commission says the American bank and 8 Asian and European companies ran a cartel for almost 10 years. The aim had been to divide the markets between them. Altogether, they are now being ordered to pay 302 million euros. The global recovery needs bolder action from leading economies, so says the head of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde. Speaking in Washington, she said the global recovery remains too slow and it's still facing multiple threats. In particular, she called on the European Central Bank to take action to stimulate the Eurozone economy. That's ahead of an ECB policy-setting meeting on Thursday. And I'm going to finish up with a question for you. When do you have enough money to be classed as rich? Is it when you own a yacht or a mansion? Well, according to a new survey, the answer is when you have £10 million. The wealth advisory firm Oracle Capital Group quizzed 500 affluent individuals in Britain, and 55% of them thought that you need £10 million sterling, which is around 12 million euros. That's not enough for some, though. A fifth of those who were asked said you need at least £100 million. And this is when I admit that I wouldn't be rich with either of those measures. £10 million, £100 million. Sorry, just don't have it.
Marcus, I'm rich already, but rich in love.
That's the one that counts, no? I suppose.
That's what I like to think. Marcus Carlson, thank you very much indeed. Marcus Carlson, as ever, with all the business. It's time now to turn our eyes